Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Energy Unleashed with Suzanne and Kim. Hey, girl, you're up north.
I know. It's so great. Not
Having
sure when
those
I'm going to get
last
back again,
moments,
so I'm enjoying every little morsel of what the nature's bringing on. So,
having those last minutes. Oh, it's
yeah.
so weird in Minnesota that we like crave those last minutes of nice.
Well, it's the end of September, which I don't know when this will air, but it's like 85 degrees or
It's
80
been
degrees
really
during the day.
weird.
It's bizarre.
Yeah. And
Really
there's no
bizarre.
leaves changing. Like behind you, everything's still green. I don't know what's going on in Minnesota this year. None of the leaves are changing.
Yeah, they're changing, but everything is different. Like the leaves are turning brown versus the beautiful colors in some places. So
Oh,
I don't know if it was really dry, too dry, where they were a little stressed, or I don't know. But there's a little bit of color, but the leaves are dropping pretty quick. So
I was
it'll
in
be
Oregon for
interesting.
the I was in Oregon for the past 5 days, and I swear to God, we noticed the colors changing. It felt like literally within the day. I mean,
Mhm.
we would drive up a pass or wherever, and it was like, didn't we drive through here yesterday? And it was all green, and now it's all red. And so we got to see some crazy colors, but yeah, it was a little strange.
Oh,
So
beautiful. I love Oregon.
yeah.
Mhm.
Well, that's what I actually wanted to talk about today is not Oregon, but as much as God forbid we get to travel and we want to travel and we love to travel, but man, traveling, holy smokes, can it bring out the stressors in you and the triggers in you. And I was thinking about it, it really reminded me of something that I tell my clients all the time. So again, take what resonates, toss what doesn't on these, but I have a phrase that I share with my clients and I live by myself is he gets to, she gets to, they get to, whatever the pronoun is when somebody's pissing you off, it's really hard not to trigger sometimes. And when you have that mantra of he gets to, he gets to, he gets to, he gets to, it can really help. And what I teach the client is then if you mantra that 5 and 6 times, you have the ability to dial back the frustration, the anger, whatever. And then you stand in that space of self-empowerment and go, now I get to. And what does that mean? What does that mean? I
Mhm.
get to do this, or this. And what I share that for is empowerment of choices. We always have 8 million choices. We think that we don't. So I wanted to break down the frustrations of why people feel as if they don't have the ability to get to.
That's wow. Oh, this is going to be so fun because it happens every day.
Yeah.
Don't you think? Like it's
And
situations every day.
most of it starts with conditioning and belief systems and rules. And really understand most all people really are raised inside actual systems that create our belief systems, whether it's our family, our religion, our school, our culture, or whatever. We get taught what is right. And it makes me laugh so hard because that word makes me just giggle. What is right for you is not necessarily right for me, but we get rewarded for right since the beginning of our days. We get told, oh gosh, you're right. And therefore, I want you to make sure that you know that I'm right because then I am right. And all of this giving our power outside of ourselves, when somebody steps outside of the boundary of that, if I'm watching you and you're stepping outside the boundary of that, it's like, wait, you're disrupting my order. You're disrupting my world. You're disrupting what's right. You can't do that. And so we get very, very confused with this concept of if you're rocking my boundaries in my world, then you're irresponsible and you shouldn't do that. Or you're taking my freedom away somehow or making my life dangerous and not safe because you're doing that, because you changed the rules. Isn't that just really bizarre?
I when you're talking about this, I think about the behavior of someone who really I'm right because of my belief and what I know, and the behavior of shutting down the listening, like totally not listening to anyone else at that point until they get validation that they're right.
Yeah.
So it's interesting to if I'm doing the mantra, I get to, I get to, I get to, I get to watch the behavior of someone else. Because if you're in that anger or you're in that position of really battling it out because you're both right, whatever, you don't you stop listening to each other. And
Yeah.
but to take that step back, like you said, with the mantra, and I get to choose, what this is for me.
Hmm.
Doesn't matter what you think or what your preaching whatever you think you're right about. But to watch that behavior and the shutdown is just interesting to me. Like that's part of the programming, right? Like,
Oh my gosh, you can see programming like crazy. And especially when you're, the reason why I'm doing this one right now today with you is because of the traveling. When you're traveling,
oh,
oh my God, there is such a projection of so much and judgment of so much. I like, they can't do that. Why did he stand up? He's in row 30 and we're only on row 7, boarding the plane. What the hell do you think you're doing? Go sit down in your seat, you know? I mean, all of those things are, and why are you doing that on the airplane? You don't get to do that. You don't get to do that. And so it went on and on and on. And of course, as most everybody these days, we were delayed for like, I don't know, 45 minutes, which turned into an hour or something, of course. And you're sitting there and everyone's pissed and everybody's frustrated anyway. And now the judgment comes out. And it's like, why are you wearing that? You shouldn't be wearing that when you're flying. Why are you talking so loud on your goddamn phone next to me in the airport? I mean, it made me laugh. So we were at the giggles. This was with my siblings, thank God, because then you get silly and stupid with everything. And we started to laugh so hard because this woman next to my brother wouldn't shut the hell up on blah blah. And she's got the phone right here, and she's just blah blah, and she's just dogging and dishing on her entire family. And here we are with 6 siblings having a blast together laughing, but she's just dogging away on, well, she can't do this and she can't do this. And here's my energy practitioner head. Well, actually she can, and I wanted to just budge in, and it was like, so this concept flies around us every day, but man, when you're traveling, it just really stirs the pot. It's crazy.
well, talking about travel, look at social media right now. Like how many fights and people have been drug off of planes in the like
Yeah.
I don't remember that being a big deal traveling myself.
Yeah.
And I traveled for work like a
Yeah,
lot for periods
we
of
both
time.
did.
And
Yeah.
I'm like, what is wrong with people being so angry and so he can wear that hat if he wants to wear that hat. It's too bad you're offended by it, but just don't look at it,
Yep.
or whatever these crazy things that people get so worked up about. It's just so small and minuscule in life that you're like, what's really behind your behavior? Because
And
it's
and
outrageous.
on the flip side, Kim, then it's also like, what makes you think that you're so important that you get to take over all of this space, that this small amount of space there is with a ton of people, because you're that important,
Yeah.
that we all have to listen to your family fight about if she picked the right color for her paint on the wall. I mean, they were redecorating something. And it was like we had to hear about the paint on the wall and the choice of the couch and the fabric. And I'm like, what is that we're all drawn into that because you don't have the wherewithal to go somewhere just a little bit more private so you're not driving, 25 people in the vicinity crazy when they're already stressed from traveling. And
Right.
there's these things. So it's like you have so much projection and you get angry and you have envy. So when we watch somebody that is super, super like acting what we would consider free, you know, it's like, wait a minute, why aren't you following the rules? And watching another person feel so free to not have any rules, it also stirs up personal envy inside of you. It's because like, what? Well, why do you get to do that? And what we forget is I also get to do that. That's why the mantra
Mhm.
works. But when we even do the mantra, we also will go, well, okay, maybe the mantra doesn't even work for me because I still go back to the chaos around this whole situation. Like, I wouldn't do that if everyone just did what everybody wanted to do constantly with no ethics or rules or morals or all of those things. Oh my God, our world's going to go crazy and everything's going to lose its. So then we go into that whole thing. So our brains will go kind of crazy even with that mantra. So it's really important to be able to like breathe through it and watch through it and really understanding that our fear comes from other people's choices really are still not going to take away my safe.
Mm,
You know what I mean?
yeah.
That's the goal of that mantra. Because what we do is when we find all this stuff happening, we flip in our head that those things about safe, worth, and enough. I'm going to lose my authority. I'm going to lose my power. I'm going to lose my, and I'm already losing it, especially right now during this time. we feel like everything's being lost, everything's being taken. My freedom is undermined. I have no control. I have no anything. And now people are expressing no control or control. And my brain goes crazy. So when we're in these things, we really want to sit in the middle of neutral and start to go, what is it that's triggering me that's real or not real? That's what's so important.
Well, and the other element in this, and maybe you can, because if you're an empath and you're maybe not totally locked down either or bubbled,
Yeah.
you're taking in that energy of all these other people around you.
Yes.
Like maybe talk about that a little bit more because I think that's even that's where the anxiousness and some of that can come from too, not realizing it's not even yours to begin with.
And
That
you hit a really good subject twist to unleash more in terms of people really do get to do whatever they want to do,
Mhm,
period. We really want to get that in our head. But we may not understand or accept that because it's going to collide with my fears, my conditioning, my belief systems, my anything. Okay. So, how do we take it more into our world of self responsibility? And that's what you want to really sit with during that mantra time is we're like a huge web of energy, regardless.
mhm,
And we think we're not. And when we understand, I can have a belief system that says it's supposed to work this way, or you're not supposed to be able to do that, or, and I love government. Everybody, the president shouldn't be like that. Well, he is. So how did that work? I mean, you voted him in, and that's how it is. I mean, when we get down to it, it doesn't matter the situation. It's the stability comes from within you.
mhm.
The calm comes within you. Your field is the thing that isn't fitting right now. So you can't fix all of these puzzle pieces. You're only responsible for your one,
Right.
right? And
Hmm.
that's what you're saying. It doesn't, it is the field around you. And in this case, we can talk that everyone in the entire world is an empath to some extent, regardless of what level you are. You can be a sensitive one, a psychic sensitive, etc. But generally speaking, we're all empathic. So when I'm in the airport in chaos and everybody's angry and everybody's upset, I'm going to feel it
Mm,
regardless,
yeah.
right?
Right. No,
And
I
I mean,
guess.
that's the judgment part comes in. And this is the really hard one. I mean, they had, this gigantic group over here had all these babies. And God forbid, we're at the age where our kids are all raised and we're at the grandkids' age. And I'm like, oh, hell no, if that kid's on my plane, that's what you start to do, right? And then and remember, fear is an amplifier too. So I'm even responsible for that as well because I'm sitting with my siblings and we're like, oh hell, if that baby's on our plane, and then of course the other one chimes in, oh my God, you know, I'm gonna be trapped with that kid on the airplane, and I can't believe they're traveling with a kid anyway. And then you start to amplify the fear, right, within your own self, right? And I loved it. They just plunked these little kids, and they were like 2 and 3, and 1 and 2 and 3 years old, and they're no shoes on, no nothing, eating pizza on the just gross floor of the airport, and you're all like judging, oh my God, who would let their kid do that? So we're amplifying the fear just as much. That's what
Yeah.
was so funny about all of it, because our judgments are coming into play as much as theirs are. So this is a really weird exchange of energy.
It's so weird. And one of the examples that it's such a when I would travel a lot, like I'd leave every Monday morning and then come back every Friday afternoon, but where I was going was Minneapolis to Detroit, and there were so many business people traveling on that morning flight to get anywhere because Detroit was a hub to put you
Yep.
in New York,
I
wherever you're going
hated
to go. And
Detroit. Yeah.
anyway, so there would be like th two-thirds of the plane were status people traveling with their little bags, and everybody has to take their bag on the plane and all the things. And I just remember, standing there every Monday morning with my cup of coffee, and they would start to call, up status, and they would run each other over to
Hmm.
get up to the front and get their bag on the plane, like including like pushing people out of the way. Like there was an elderly couple next to me pushing them out of the way so that they could get up front and get their bag on the plane and sit down and put their headphones on and get on their phone. And
Yeah.
I was like, I would stand there with my cup of coffee and I'm like, this is not where I'm meant to be. This is so crazy that people think they are that important.
Hmm.
And I'm like, the plane's not going to leave without us.
Right.
They're not. They're not going to close the door without us. We're right here. Like, be kind. Help people with their stuff. Like,
Yeah.
it was really, and it was like a weird movie situation where they would just rush up and I'd be standing there going, wow, this is nuts.
Well, and you nailed another one. It's like a weird movie. We sat in this airport yesterday, and like I said, we had a lot of, some of the siblings were having delays, and so we were really aware that you're just sitting, and it used to be fun. I don't know why I travel so yucky now, but
Yeah.
we sat there like this is so surreal. It doesn't even feel like it's a real thing. Everything felt holographically bizarre.
Hmm.
And a lot of things on this particular trip ended up that way. And in fact, my siblings were all teasing, oh, now we're in Suzanne's world. What dimension are we in? Because nothing is working the way that, it normally would. And we had all these very strange travel debacles that were getting to be super humorous, but we sat there and you look around and you're sitting there with others that have like-minded energy and you're like, is this even real? This feels like we're like in a really bizarre movie because
Yeah.
nothing is making sense. So the polarity, the energetics around you, the bizarreness starts to get kind of creepy and weird. You can really weird
Yeah.
yourself out.
Seriously. I think that's when I started. I'm like, wow, I'm not in the right place in my life right now. I think I need to reconsider what I'm doing because
Yeah, yeah.
these are not the people I want to surround myself with. I don't feel comfortable here.
And
And
again, I
again,
want to,
that goes
oh,
back
go,
to safe. It goes
yeah.
back to safe, but also I trigger for me is a lack of consideration. And I know I need what I like to do is go neutral as much as
Yeah.
I can when I'm in that because if you're not considerate, and you're just bullying your way through, I really have no my patience for that trigger is quick. Bam.
There's a bigger coding behind it, though, that I want to point out in this thing, too, because when somebody does whatever they want to, meaning they're expanding into their so-called freedom, I get to do this, and it can be with that feeling of I'm not kind, I'm not compassionate, or they're just ignorant, or. There's a million of those ors. But regardless, um, what's happening is our old programs and the old programs overall collectively about you have to follow the rules, you're going to be punished, this is
Mhm.
dangerous and the whole world could blow up, you have to stay in line. Those are really programs that are woven into our whole entire existence also by really bigger programming of controller,
Mhm.
top down, you have to. So we also want to be really aware of that because, you know, that's still creepy programming.
Yeah.
Staying
Yeah.
in line, you're going to be, those are savior programs. Those are government is, you have to do this, the rules and that's happening a lot right now with the chaos in our world. I mean, things about, what our governments are doing. We're really pulling out narratives of that's really closing my world really small, right? You're taking away all of my freedoms. And so we really want to know self-responsibility comes here. I want to choose how my choices ripple into my field. I want to be aware of my feeling of freedom versus this right now, you
Hmm.
know? So even remember those you have to stand in line and you shouldn't budge is a bigger program.
Yeah. Yeah. That's what
Right?
it all is. I think where um when I step back and watch behavior of people, getting past the judgment first because I am
Mm-hmm.
judging and I am projecting what I think is right. I get that. But also in my heart, I'm like, it doesn't take any more energy to be
Mm-mm.
just kind,
Yeah.
you know, and generous. Like
Or
it's
help
okay.
that person that's struggling with the luggage above you instead of complaining that they're taking too long to get out of their seat. I mean, it's
Yeah.
weird. Yeah, it
Yeah.
is weird.
Yeah. And karma's a bitch. I'm going to say that. I've watched people that have been very difficult and bad behavior and then you see there's a result at the end of that usually, which is
Yep.
interesting to watch because you're like, boy, you really didn't have to be that nasty. And now look at you had the wrong bag anyway, and you have to leave the plane. Like you
Yep.
just see things happen. And it's like, yeah, like just be kind of kind. Like
And
it
the
doesn't take
plane one
much.
cracks me up the most because they're budging and trying to just jump everybody, and we're all getting off the same plane, and you're all going to the same baggage. It's like really weird.
Yeah,
Again, you're all going on the same plane. You're not going to leave without you, like you said. These are really strange, your brain just can't get around the logical or illogicalness of most of that stuff. And I
right.
think travel just really expands all of those triggers. It's just crazy.
Yeah.
So
I
much
was
triggering.
sitting with next to this guy, and these stories are probably too much. But anyway, across the aisle, this woman, she had her shoes off, her socks off. She was like probably in her 60s, maybe. And the guy in front of her, put his seat back before the 10,000 feet.
Mhm.
And so this guy and I are having a cocktail because it's Friday afternoon, Friday night or whatever, and we're on our way home, and all of a sudden we watch her and she starts hitting the bell, which the flight attendants can't get up, and she's putting her feet on the seat, pushing a seat, pushing a seat, pushing a seat, and he's screaming at her, and we're just sitting there watching them like, what? This is really like what?
That's what I mean.
Like
Surreal.
seriously.
Yeah.
What was great though is a flight attendant actually moved the lady back into coach and
Wow.
said, when we get off the plane, if you do not behave, there will be police waiting for you at the gate. And
Wow.
it was interesting that they took her and her behavior and moved her, which again, I was like, again, like it's about following the rules in my head. But I was like, did you really need to go through all that? I don't
Yeah.
think it was worth it for you, at
Well,
the end.
and let's round that right back to what we were talking about earlier. It's about anchoring your own field. And when you're in
Yeah.
everybody else's playing in their sandboxes, how I always say it to my clients, when you're in everybody else's sandbox, stealing their toys, trying to do that's about you're in my space, you're in my space. Well, then pull your space in and handle your space differently so that you are claiming your own field, that you're
Yeah.
calming your own field. And it is really important that my freedom is not infringed or is infringed by you is my choice. My choice is I'm feeling infringed, so therefore I'm going to argue this, or I'm just going to surrender to this differently and I'm going to be okay with this. And then that's what you brought up is compassionate boundaries. Finding compassionate boundaries, looking at it with warmth instead of, attack. Really watching because if I'm going to attack, my own nervous system is going to go through the roof. So
Hmm.
why do I care to attack is beyond my sandbox. I want to bring it back into my own sand and go to that neutrality because that's when I have command and control. So it's really going through the processes of that empath stuff. And it really does all be the same thing, right? I
Hmm.
mean, whether you're empathing a place or a person or a collective or whatever, it's all the same stuff. Just go inside versus outside. But man,
Well, it was
it,
entertaining anyway. It made the trip, go pretty fast. Like,
yeah, I don't know. And there's the last thing I want to really align with is that it's about permission or thinking people need permission or not have permission. There isn't really a permission code. There really isn't. It isn't about you get to or not get to. The only thing you get to is your own thing. It's like you don't get to judge somebody else's stuff because they truly, truly, truly get to do whatever they want to. And
mhm.
when we can get our head around that, it releases such freedom,
Yeah,
right?
yeah. It's a difficult one in certain situations, that's for
Oh
sure.
my God.
To
Yeah.
do the mantra and you're still in your head going, yep, that's not working. Mantra, mantra,
Yep.
mantra, mantra.
Yep. Not working, not working. So, but I do believe that the mantra does help and it gets you to a neutral place and it gets you to and God forbid you can find humor in it. I mean, we did our best to find the humor in that whole situation. And
Yeah.
I just really want to warn people that when you're off, you can ripple effect so easy. Like I said, I'm sitting with, a bunch of siblings that then join in and magnify the fear and amplify and magnify and amplify. So, even when you're with the group, pull inward and make your decisions here versus trying to even amplify with even those that have the like-minded.
Hmm.
So it's hard and travel isn't fun. It used to be. How come travel used to be fun? I don't get that. And it's just,
Well, I mean, I think that the industry has changed the luxury of travel big time, especially flying. And they've crammed so many people into a small area that why wouldn't there be issues?
yeah.
You don't have much space in your seat or your legs or whatever. It's not comfortable.
Well, and I also think it's the typical thing is they overbook everything, so everything has quote unquote mechanical issues and will
Yeah.
be 45 minutes late, and it's not even true. And I think that's a piece of it also, Kim, is we know we're being toyed with and lied to again. And that's a part of the puppetry that happens in almost everything we do as humans. And you're sitting there going, that's bullshit. You know that there isn't mechanical issues on plane. My sister had three planes, three different planes they got on and off of consecutively that all had mechanical issues. Well, what the hell are you doing being an airline if it's that, you know? And so then that incites fear as well. I'm getting on a plane that has mechanical issues, and so you're just
And
constantly,
after three times, I'm like, hey, I'm gonna rent a car. I don't
right?
know what's happening now.
Yeah. And then you're having guilt and you're having the issues of I'm putting everybody else out and everybody's going to be mad at me. And now it's, you know, the ripple effect of all of the plans for the day, et cetera, et cetera. So there's so much fear involved in that process, and the lying to and the being controlled, I think, is a
Mm,
huge piece of it.
yeah,
And the only reason why, I mean, I brought it up because of the situation that we just went through, but it actually seeps into everything in our lives, which is that loss of control. And
mm,
when we're in loss of control and chaos, we don't feel like we have any sovereignty and freedom. So the whole goal of the mantra is to find your freedom.
right,
So,
right. That's really, really freedom is, I don't think of that word very often anymore. I don't know. It just doesn't pop into my head as much.
right?
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's interesting that you say that. I'll have to.
Hey, I was just glad to get home.
I know.
Just glad to make it home. All right. Well, take what resonates. I know that was kind of an odd one, but it is the same situation regardless if you're on an airplane or if you're sitting in the middle of Walmart, you know? So use the tactics if you choose. All right, my dear. Good to see you, everyone. Thank you for watching, and maybe hit the share and the subscribe button or the thumbs up and the like, and share it with a friend. Ask a question. Until next time, cosmic hugs.
Goodbye.